Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, why not show off a little bit here with these wing doors to a full review of the Tesla Model X Performance Raven. What does it mean? First of all, the Model X Performance, as the name says, the performance model here with the highest performance, with the highest power output. Nowadays, only anymore the long-range version and the performance model is available, both with the biggest batteries, so they have simplified a little bit, and the Raven, that means the updated electric motor in the front. So an extensive facelift, so to speak, not exactly with visual changes, but I can tell you a lot has changed here with the Model X. So many interesting things to come, I can promise. Exterior, interior, and the updated driving experience with the acceleration-wise fastest SUV in the world from series production. More to come now with Thomas in Full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! So there are many great things about this vehicle, and one of them is, for example, you approach it, have the key in your pocket, for example, then here mirrors fold out and the door automatically opens and comes towards you. This is just so intuitive, awesome. Also, when I open the trunk, the rear hatch here, when I'm outside, it goes all the way open like this. But when I'm in my basement garage, where it's like really limited in the height, it just stops where it has to stop. I don't need to set it, need to preset it or something, just automatically stops where it's supposed to stop. Awesome. Well, meanwhile you can control the car with your smartphone, with the Tesla app, but I think it's always nice to have, you know, this Tesla key stand, and you can do so much with it. For example, in the rear, you can, press it twice and then the trunk opens right there. You can press the left sides twice and then the Falcon doors open. So this is all possible. Really great stuff. Or you just press it, on the top part, and then everything closes again. So this is so cool. And by the way, holding the rear part of the trunk then releases the charging port. And with that smartphone app, you can summon your vehicle. For example, you can, let it come towards you out of a narrow parking lot, for example. However, at the moment, I do have a bad connection here, so this is then also one of the limits. In the front, you can see here, these are the daytime running lights, beautiful design, sleek design as well, typical small Tesla opening there with the logo. Of course, we don't need so much cooling here for an electric vehicle in the very front. The Model X, of course, resembles a little bit also the Model S, just this one being the SUV, it's then once again a little bit higher. Not so many visual changes here with the recent Raven update, but I can tell you there are a lot of things to come, technology-wise, driving-wise, insulation-wise, suspension-wise, and so on and so on. White vehicle color here for today. There are 5 different colors available. I would probably pick a deep blue, which is Thomas blue we call here, and then maybe you have like a nice mix here to the interior. 3 interior colors available, so soon more about that. But that's also one scheme about the Tesla models. There aren't so many options, and you don't have, like $30,000 or $40,000 or euros extra price than for this vehicle segment like the German premium manufacturers. Here you just pick the color on the exterior, color on the interior, and that's basically it. Wheels, maybe, and then that's it really. And that makes it so easy to order a car, for example, here with Tesla. The length is at 5 meters 04, 16 foot 5 or 198 inches. Of course, this hasn't changed. And 20-inch wheels or 22-inch wheels, directly the step. These are here the 20-inch wheels in the bright style. In Germany, for example, we have a different bright styling. In the US configurator at the moment, just one bright styling, but sometimes it changes as well. And then the 22-inch wheels would be in the black styling for more sporty, menacing style. However, here with these 20-inch wheels, you have the best riding comfort. Talking about that, here with the Raven update, both for the Model S and for the Model X, you get a new adaptive air suspension. So it had air suspension before, but now adaptive. You can also see different modes on the interior infotainment. and this is supposed to bring more comfort. Of course, we will find out more about it very soon while driving. Generally, the design here, crossover wheel claddings, typical SUV design, but then this more SUV coupe shape at the rear with these coupe style windows, tinted windows here also in the rear. Yeah, and then of course the very special Falcon doors. You can once again see how they look like when they open like this. They can even open when it's a little bit narrower right here. You've seen it maybe, and they also have good sensors. They work even better nowadays. So before there were some, things sometimes they didn't work too well and so on, but now they have updated this, these doors, the whole sensor thing throughout. And meanwhile, I have to say it really works very well. I still think that the normal door would be more practical, yes. However, these are also very fancy, always a great show-off feature. And as I said, they have improved so many things that were bad before are now really top-notch. Also had problems with the rear hatch a couple of years ago with the electronics there. This is all now fixed, so this vehicle has really been, perfectionized throughout the building process. And now on the rear, this 3/4 rear perspective is really interesting, how the side window line closer towards the end definitely. The very rear then has some bulky shape, I have to say. But yeah, that's always a matter of preference. Here the tail lamp design, also very modern still. Dual motor it says here, because one motor in the front, one in the rear. There's a new one in the front that is called Raven in this motor project. That's why also the whole update we can call Raven. It was used in Tesla Model 3 before at the rear axle, and here now at the front axle, because here at the rear for the S and the X they need stronger electric motors for the rear axle. But overall efficiency gain at least 10%, if not more, so there's more power available, yet at the same time a higher or longer range. And depending, of course, always on how you drive, you can really score more than 300 miles if you drive very, very well, even some 350 miles, or even realistically 500 kilometers as the range. That's very, very good. Now 2 models available. Either here, the one we have today, the performance model with even more power for the rear motor, or then the long range model. The acceleration figures here for the performance model in miles per hour. So to 60 miles an hour is 2.6 seconds for the performance model and 4.4 seconds for the long range model. And up to 0 to 1 kilometers an hour is 2.8 seconds for the performance model and 4.6 seconds for the long range model. And charging is 11 kilowatt AC and up to 250 kilowatt DC at the supercharger. First of all, door closing sound. It's actually quite nice. And what else do we have? We have the soft close. Ta-da! Now the interior, black decal elements, then white leather red right here, also soft touch at the top part of the doors. We know these Mercedes window levers from past models. And you can see here, straightforward, simple layout, digital instruments, soon details to that. Also soft touch dashboard, all animal free, but looks like it. Just a steering wheel in the S and the X. You have to order that individually, that you get also a non-animal wrapping there. In the Model 3 and the Model Y it's standard, so this they have to work on the X and the S. However, here the seats, they are indeed all animal-free, sustainable materials also. And if you think about petroleum use, by the way, this can also be done from recyclables, first of all, soon maybe also from plant-based materials. And the amount of petroleum that would be used for PU seat is, really, really little if you compare it to fuel use or energy use. So while you do the production for animal skin, you use more oil than what you would use here for petroleum-based seats. Just a small, information excursus. Definitely a great material here, very soft touch. It feels really high class, high grade. The recent BMW new CenterTech seats for BMW 5 Series were even better, I think, meanwhile, but these were all really pretty cool. 3 colors, either here the white one, the standard one would be the black one, here for the white, and the beige one, 1,500 euros or dollars extra. Here with the white you have a black ceiling in combination. The beige one would come also with a bright ceiling, so probably for that reason I would put the beige ones. I think also the beige ones are not that sensitive to maybe like stains than the white ones. However, you can wipe them clean pretty easily. That's also a good solution, definitely. So my favorite pick would be probably the deep blue on the outside and the beige interior on the inside, but here white is also cool, or black and white, so exterior black and interior white would also be fancy. Definitely a very nice look we have here. Now let's get inside. Really easy entry here also to the front, and the reason I would always prefer the Model X to the Model S is that I sit more upright here in the SUV style. Yes, I like the Model S more as for the design, but here you have the upright SUV seating position and of course this huge panoramic front windscreen. Really cool. Just a so unique atmosphere here still. This is not a new vehicle, but it's still so unique as for the whole interior design. Seats also now updated here with the electric motors. They are better than before, so even things that haven't been announced to be majorly updated, just small things before the electric motors were sometimes a little bit louder or so, or felt a little bit awkward. This has also been updated now. Steering wheel here up and down and also towards you, and everything is really easy and straightforward. Although this is so packed full of features and technology, most of the things are intuitive and easy to use, and that's I think the key to this vehicle. So once again, comfortable seating setup here, and headroom with 1.86 or 6.1. Don't even have to talk about it because there's this panoramic screen. Talking about intuitive, when you are just entering the vehicle and here you have maybe any doors open, then you can just press close all on the screen and then everything closes itself. And just for the driver's door, just hit the brake here with the foot. Here we go. What a great solution. Talking about straightforward here, I move the steering wheel for example, or move the seat, then immediately here my Thomas user account says I can save it directly, so I can save my driving profile setting here for the seat and the steering. So once again, my point, it is a very complex thing, so many things are offered to you, but they made it easy. So that's the difference then to the new systems by the established car manufacturers. Very interesting. So here again, this cockpit setup that still looks concept car like, 17-inch screen, huge and massive. Here with the satellite view, Google satellite view, really impressive. And of course the best GPS you can get because it's Google based. Then you can see the great wraparound here with the dark interior element, this covered wood, and there's also a reason for me maybe to go for a beige interior, because then you can also have this beige interior element. Here the glove box, one button for that, but pretty shallow as for the space, and the left side button would be for the hazard indicators. That's it button wise right here, everything else with the screen, and soon more details how we control everything of that. Steering wheel. This is very interesting because on the left side we have the volume control and you skip the tracks and so on. When you at some point need to reboot the system, by the way, when you have a black screen, left or right or something, even while driving, the car will still drive, you can here hit and hold both of the buttons, so left and right thumb. This will reboot the software system, just in case you know. Voice input also works very well. For example, set temperature to 22 degrees. Here, and that's already happening. Now the rear blower is working, for example. Different things also for example for the GPS input, it also works very well. And interesting here on the right side, right thumb, you have control of the most basic functions via the screen here. And this is also a reason why I can live in this case, that I don't have any separate temperature knobs. I'll soon show you what I mean then here in the digital gauges, where I can then also pick things here with my right thumb. Pretty interesting. Then lower part, we have a cubby hole here, then you can slide this cover open, also nice quality by the way. Then you can have also splitters in between if you like that, if you want to have this front cubby hole split. Then you have an inductive charging platform for your smartphone where you can put it in. or you would have two USB supplies. One is at the moment used for the inductive charging platform, and some cup holders you can slide open right here. You know, in the digital instruments, as soon as you set the car to drive, then you have the speed in the top part, for example. Left side, when you have a GPS route set, that's also definitely a good solution. On the right side, either, for example, energy consumption meter, or then when I scroll with my right thumb here, this is then the thing I say, it's okay with the non-knob temperature, because I can control the temperature right here. Just by scrolling with my right thumb, I can control the temperature, or again, I could use the voice input, and also here with the fan speed. So, and this can be easily done while driving, and that's why I can live without the temperature knobs. Or also here access the recent calls of your smartphone via Bluetooth. That's again another reason why I could also live without the CarPlay and so on. Yeah. Very interesting, definitely the solution here, and to me also way better than in the Model 3. It's so much better to have the instruments here and the according controls on the steering wheel than just that one setup screen in the Model 3 or in the Model Y. So that's also why for the user interface and the user input, I would prefer the X and the S. And then to the screen, we have so much to show here, also very fast and responsive, even though when the satellite view is activated. But of course, you can also go for the more basic view like this. It might be even better for navigation when that's, you know, when it's in this very mode here. But this, of course, looks fancier. Then there's this car menu where you can close, for example, all of the doors and so on, or change the display brightness. Suspension settings now for the adaptive air suspension, comfort, auto, or sport. I usually leave it in comfort, just more comfortable. Suspension can be also lowered here. It needs to be lowered for the launch control, which you can activate here with the Ludicrous Plus mode. But then, no, I want my mommy. Yes, bring it on. Then it, for example, now it needs 40 minutes to preheat the battery for the Ludicrous Plus mode, but Ludicrous mode itself is also fine. Just believe me, it's more than fast enough. Usually I leave it on chill acceleration. That's better for your body and especially for the ones of your passengers. Steering, you can set here different resistance in there. Usually also leave it on standard. Regenerative braking is that way you can have the one pedal feeling. With low, you can rather drive like a combustion engine. And here in the new stopping mode, then when you have it to hold, it really reduces the speed until 0. Creeping would be when you have the brake released, then it rolls a little bit forward, for example. But it depends on how you want to have it. You can control everything here, not as necessarily while driving, for example, but when you set one of the things here first and once, that's actually quite fine, that's okay, and then you're fine with most of the things, and that's really totally okay. And then you don't need to control stuff like this all the time here in the screen. In the lower part, you can, for example, also access the rear view camera, but it also automatically comes when you put in reverse gear. Great resolution, great view, and also the energy consumption, which is exceptionally low here because we have a regenerative braking here at the moment from the motorway. But when you look at it right here, we had some performance on the motorway, then it's a little bit higher. So it really depends on, but very nicely to follow it. Seat heating is available here. The climate unit can be accessed right there as well, but doing that while driving, here seat heating even for the third seating row in 3 levels. Wow. So accessing that while driving is a little bit complicated. See, the steering wheel can also be heated, and that's all standard now. With the vehicle, you don't have to tick any options and so on. That is so cool with this car. So almost everything is standard now. The music you would access here from your phone via Bluetooth. That's the only thing. You can easily access, for example, the recent calls and so on via Bluetooth. But picking playlists, at least from the iPhone X at the moment, is not possible. You have to pick it on your phone. That's the only thing that's, for example, missing if you compare to using Apple CarPlay or Android Auto or so. But most of the time, then Bluetooth is so much enough. Or you use, for example, Spotify. And I would like to have still an Apple CarPlay. It would be nice to have the option at least. But since you have the great GPS here and also the nice voice input, most of the things the car system does by itself then. And then it's somewhat also fine. So very impressive system, and of course to fool around a little bit here, can play around with farts, for example, or have some nice visualizations or like the Christmas mode, Santa mode or something. Yeah, we've shown that in a couple of reviews already. Yeah, Xmas mode, for example, you have to start the Xmas show. You can check it out in the other review. I mean, yeah, you can show off that with your friends, play around a little bit, but of course not really necessary. But you know, sometimes you have to say, why not? Rear seating. It's really an awesome experience to get inside with these Falcon doors, with the wing doors. So easy the entry, at least when you have the space to open them all the way. Still some legroom left here when the bench is in the most rear position. We also have a different view of the Model X where we have the 6-seater model, which has the 2 single seats here, and then you can go through the rear in the middle for this 2-2-2 setup. That's of course a practical solution, also a lot of fun for the kids, for example. But here with the bench, the good thing is you can adjust here the back part of the seat in the angle, and they can also fold it down completely when you want to use the trunk a little bit more. So I think I would always go for the 5-seater or the 7-seater setup as we have it here right now, because you're just more flexible with folding it and then have just more trunk space left. When you have a different vehicle, like when you have a pickup at home or something and you use all the loading for that and you never do it in here in the Model X, then of course the 6-seater setup is also quite cool. However, the extra price, at least 6.5K, even more sometimes in some markets, for the 6-seater option, so really expensive option, and just a little bit more here for the 7-seater option. Of course the 5-seater, the standard, is then the least expensive one, the standard one. You can also slide this bench forward here, then it gets close with my legs, so I need to spread it just a little bit, but that's the only way. Adults could also sit in the rear. My most comfortable position would then still be like this, but then there would not be too much space here in the rear. I'll soon hop to the 3rd seating row and then you see what I mean. But for that I really need to push it all the way in the front. And to get inside, the only thing I can do is really use this lever here or use the button here behind to fold it down. There's ISOFIX at the outside seats each here for the 2nd row. And of course cool that the middle seat is a full normal seat, and here electric vehicle, no middle tunnel, so you can very well sit here in the middle part. Unless you use the USB chargers or the cup holders. Just one limitation here in the middle seat, so headroom wise for me, 1.86 or 6.1, it's still cool, exactly okay, but I do hit the ceiling with my hairs. So if you're any taller than me, not too good then. Then you should move once again to the outside here, where you have the space then, with the glass, with a separate glass inside the Falcon doors. And I said the build quality improved, but there's one piece here at the inside of the Falcon doors. This could be, better done. This could be also covered in the same Alcantara as this one. Yeah, but we really have to search for things like this now. So the only thing that is maybe missing here for the 7-seater is a better entry function to the rear seats, and so you can just slide them forward and fold them down, but there's not like an comfort entry function or something. And when I go behind this here, then it does actually work then here with tall adults in a way that I have to put my head here behind this, close to the glass. It directly works, not like super comfortable, so also works with the legs, but only when I have pushed this bench here all the way forward. But again, the nice leatherette surface here, cup holders, and well, the seats themselves, they are actually quite decently comfortable also in the rear. And I wonder, weren't there some ISOFIX in earlier versions here at the last seating row? Not anymore, it seems. You can open the front in your smartphone app, or once again with a double click here on the key in the front. And so it's also a very easy solution. Here you can store additional charging cables, for example, or this like charging cable box. So we have additional floor mats here. This vehicle is all new still, and there's reasonable space already in the front, so all your cables could be stored right there, or maybe even some additional stuff. The maximum trunk figures for the 5-seater would be 2,500 liters or 88 cubic feet. And you see here, this is the 7-seater, but I think it's actually quite cool because you can also use it as a trunk split, these additional seatings here in the rear. So a cabin trolley perfectly fits in here behind that. That's actually quite cool. And the measures just here in the very rear part, the length is here 45 centimeters, and the width here, this is a meter, so this is more than a meter right here, and you can easily release them right here like this, and then you can also push them forward like this. So here we go. And what's also better than before is that this trunk cover, it can be put in like this, so that's a very good solution. Then you can again reach the cable, for example. You can put it in the front or here in the rear, so a lot of space underneath once again, so very good space offering. And the length in here, when you would have set this setup, or also the 5-seater, here there's about 1.15 meters, and I already folded one of the seating rows right there, and the length here up to the seat in the front is more than 2 meters actually. And here's also a reason why you can also fold the seats in here. There's a button right here, and then they also go forward. And when you, for example, you would use luggage from the rear, then you can also push it and it would also fold once again. So other than that, you would have to go around. And then let me show the very final maximum loading space for today. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the Tesla Model X Performance Raven, this updated motor. And let's put it to the ludicrous mode. There's now also ludicrous plus mode available. However, that would take heating about 55 minutes or something. You get a little bit more power than even, so even more extreme, but the battery has to be preheated for that. There's also then a launch control available. But of course you need maybe like rather a racetrack for that. Here we do a flying start for safety reasons in the normal ludicrous mode, but this one will already be very spectacular. Ladies and gentlemen, the fastest series production SUV in the world from acceleration. Plop, that's 200 kilometers an hour or 125 miles per hour. And this was really an incredible acceleration. I mean, no other SUV can do that in this kind of way. And I mean, yes, it's very loud here and then in here, but considering the older model, this has massively been improved. And now let's go to a speed of 150 kilometers an hour. Whoa, yeah, that's a Porsche doing the same thing that we do. Because here now, like, this is now a very good speed, 140 kilometers an hour, and it's very, very silent in here. So this is a big step forward if you compare it to the non-Raven or pre-Raven model. So the noise insulation here, especially at higher speeds, has been massively improved, massively. So indeed, that was one of the things where so far we said Tesla has a great concept, but they are lacking a little bit behind in the perfection, in the look and feel, build quality, noise insulation, and so on. And once again, I'm really astonished how big the difference is. So most of the time, when there are changes in the Model X or Model S or even the Model 3, they are software relevant, and then it doesn't make a difference if you would buy a new model or not. That's also the good thing about Tesla. You always get the updates, and most of the time it's not hardware. Yes, and there are also some third-party insulation packages, for example, for Model 3, which really improves that and so on. But here, really now from Works, I remember like 2 years ago or something, I did like a long haul with the Model X and also higher speed German motorway and so on. And I was really annoyed by, like, when I was driving 140, 150 kilometers an hour. And I really was like getting like, like a constant sound on my ears, and I would say, I really have to drive slower because it's getting so annoying from the wind noises. Yeah, it's totally such a German problem, right? Yeah, I admit that. But now, that's totally gone. So I would really say this car here now gets the stamp German motorway proven. Congratulations, Elon. And there was the rattling sun visor here before. That's gone. There were also other, annoying sounds here from time to time. They're all gone. So I really have to ask myself. I could always say, like, Tesla has the best concept. They have the most efficient electric motors. Then again, build quality-wise, blah blah blah. They're lacking behind the Germans a little bit. That will take some time. seems to be gone now. I mean, there's some like little things here and there, maybe, but I really have to say, the German premium manufacturers, they have to look out even here for the existing vehicle, not the all-new models, even for X and S, they really have to look out. Tesla is coming more and more and more and more, and there's hardly any difference then in these cases, So yeah, very, very interesting. Also, I always have some like in-depth deep talks with the engineers and managers in the automotive industry, and of course that we can also have like some influence that they build more sustainable cars and so on. But they were always saying like, first of all it was like, those Tesla guys, like whatever, that's like toy cars and stuff. 1 or 2 years later, like, yeah, very interesting. Yeah, we have to really take a look at that. And they have great concepts, and they do this and this very great. We have to take them seriously. But we have better driving performance. Our engines are better, still than electric cars, and noise insulation is better, and this and that. And then again, 2 years later, it's like they really helped us in pushing the electric vehicles on the market, and we have to respect it. But we're still much better in this and this and that. But now, yeah, it's getting really dangerous. So everyone from the German automotive industry watching this, take this car out for a spin and then think again. We can also put the suspension very, very low, for example, so we have, better ground contact. And let's now do one more acceleration when we're already at speed from 80 kilometers an hour. Let's see. That's 180 kilometers an hour, and wow, once again, awesome acceleration. Of course, then also the energy consumption goes up to about 63 kilowatt hours per 1 kilometer, so that's almost double. So once again, we also find that with other electric vehicles, you have almost double the energy consumption when you have the max performance or something. And here lane change with this new air suspension, even in the comfort mode, wow, really well done. Of course, switching things around here while driving is not too good. Steering mode sport, and we have a little bit more resistance. We can have the suspension set to the sport, then it's stiffer, so lane change would be even better, but it gets a little bit less comfortable then. So steering is quite good, I would say. It could be maybe giving you a little bit more natural feedback, but just a notch. But overall, I'm quite happy with that. So really, once again, I have to say, so many things have been improved, very well done. And you see, I go off the throttle, and usually a combustion engine would stay with that consumption, with that high one. But here, again, great regenerative braking, and our consumption figure is almost immediately back to a rather normal status, because I gained so much power back once again. And that is also my point. A Tesla Model 3 with a different suspension, like aftermarket suspension, will be one of the best and most economical private track vehicles, because you don't need so much brakes, you don't need so much power, you can always use the regenerative braking. Really interesting. So once again, good performance here on the motorway. Really, as I said earlier, now German Autobahn proof here, even for the Model X, even because it's standing upright, but it has a great drag coefficient as well. So a very efficient car once again. That's one of the bad things. And I told you earlier that the rear engine, the new one from the Model 3, was put in here into the front. Reason again being that you need more powerful motors here. So motors, not engines. More powerful motors in the rear. And even more so here in the performance model, where we have even more power from the rear. Wow. Just can say, wow, this performance here is really great, and almost all of the things I have criticized before with the Model X, which was still lacking, where they still had to improve things, this has been improved now, and it really once again proves my point. I once said that the German manufacturers, they don't have the best concepts yet, but they have the best look and feel, build quality, the best execution. Tesla has the best concept, but not the best execution. But that's easier to do. It's easier to work on the execution than to work on the whole different concept. And that is exactly what has happened here and what is still happening. City driving, let's do an acceleration while steering. This will be very interesting in the ludicrous mode once again. Whoa, and that was pretty stable. You see there was, of course the all-wheel drive, so both electric motors, evening that out pretty well. So, wow, so this was extremely fast, but still very collected. And then let's put it back here to the chill mode. That's more than enough. By the way, again, if you see something of that screen flickering, that's just on camera because the shutter speed of this action cam cannot be adjusted. Here, more recuperation is also possible now, more or stronger recuperative braking because of the new electric motor. And when you set it here to the standard recuperation, this really means it's a very harsh recuperation. You can use one pedal driving. So when I lift my foot off throttle, even going downhill, there's a strong deceleration. And especially if you have passengers next to you, you use this car not in a way that you always lift your foot that's interesting. You always lift your foot off the throttle, foot off the throttle totally and instantaneously. You rather do it gently, for example, to adjust the decreasing speed. You just do it when you really need strong deceleration. And when you have set the stopping mode to a complete stop, then it really recuperates or stops until zero, until it stands still. When you have set it to the creeping mode, that means when you lift your foot off the throttle while standing still, it creeps forward, rolls forward slowly like a normal automatic gearbox in an ICE. When you have set to that mode, then the car will not stop and not go to 0 kilometers or miles per hour when you're standing still. So that really then depends on your driving mode. But usually I would set it to the creep mode because I think it's nice that it just creeps a little bit forward from time to time then. But then again, this coming to a total stop when just releasing the throttle pedal, this has also something, so maybe I will switch that now. I don't know. Great improvement definitely here once again from the air suspension, which is now adaptive, and this is so much more comfortable. I wouldn't say it's still not the best air suspension on the market. This is something where the German premium manufacturers still have a little bit something in advance. Usually I would also set it here to the most comfortable node, but even here in the comfort setting from the air suspension, it's still sporty enough definitely, but it has a huge boost of comfort if you compare it to the pre-Raven model, definitely. And once again, when I'm standing still here, it is so silent in here now, so the noise dampening, this was something also where I said, they have a great concept, but the Audi, BMW, Mercedes, they have so much better noise insulation, and so this is gone now, this difference. The noise insulation here now is really superb, and we already confirmed that once again when we were driving high speed earlier. So really, really cool. And even here in this chill mode, this is so totally enough for this vehicle, 50 to almost 90, just almost instantaneously. And it's actually more relaxed to go in the chill mode. It's more than enough power. You use a little bit less energy. There's less stress then on your passengers and so on. That's really, really cool. And as for the better range, increased efficiency, I can really say, even if you go 100 kilometers or 120 kilometers an hour, 60, 70 miles per hour at that speed, then you can score some, like now for example, some figures like 20 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. That's about 32 kilowatt hours on 100 miles, and that would mean a real range of around 500 kilometers and around a little bit more maybe than 300 miles, and that's totally fine. And if you're more at a slower speed, for example, not really like on a motorway, then you could even score better range figures. And of course, when you really exceed it as for the acceleration, then you would have less range. But I think that is what I just said, a realistic figure. Let's see if the autopilot here, which is activated by pulling that lower lever twice, that's coping with the construction lane here. And so far, so good. Realizing lanes left and right. Maybe because this one here is an American, and also realizing that yellow lanes are normal. Here in German they are not. They're just used in construction lanes, and the normal lines are white. But so far, keeping me very well on the lane. Of course, you have to keep your hands on the steering wheel at the moment still. Level 2 autonomous driving. But so far, so good. Very well done. There's also an semi-autonomous lane change available. I can show that to you very soon. Oh, now the exit of the construction lane. Is the car doing that? Yeah, I didn't steer indeed. So now, let's see. I just hit the turning indicator. Here the car is switching the lane. Very well done. So yeah, that's actually fine. Satisfied with that. So, of course, most of the time it's more fun to steer yourself and so on. Is the autopilot here? I mean, it's not really an autopilot, so the name is a little bit deceiving, definitely. Is it the best on the market? Definitely not. So I think there also the traditional manufacturers have some more smooth solutions here, and a little bit more refined. Here sometimes the steering wheel is a little bit nervous, so although Tesla is claiming they have the best system, they don't. But they have a lot of data, like this cloud data, so maybe they can do a next step then very soon. It was announced already. Let's see what about that. Here also at the standard highway speed, 100 kilometers or 60 miles an hour. Just really, really good for noise insulation, and so stable and calm and collected on the road. So this car has been improved in driving by so much. So this is a significant step forward once again here for the Model X, and the same will also count for the Model S. And now to our conclusion for today with the updated Tesla Model X performance and the updated Raven version. Well, exterior-wise, still a very sleek design. However, the rear is a little bit bulky than I think, but just personal preference. I don't think, to me, it's the most beautiful SUV in the world there is, but definitely a very unique styling and a very unique concept. Of course, here with the Falcon Wings doors, but even more so in the interior, where we have the very futuristic concept, which even today could be a concept vehicle on a motor show, with the panoramic windscreen, which is the biggest in the world, definitely. And of course, also with the all-vegan seats, so very animal-friendly. Yeah, they have to work on that steering wheel wrapping here, in contrast to the Model 3 and the Model Y in the X and in the S, but talked about that earlier as well. Great sound system, a nice feeling while driving. Although there are hardly any buttons left, the car is easy to control. For example, also with the steering commands with your right thumb. So overall, this is a very, very great concept of a vehicle. Also one of the most efficient cars out there, considering especially that size. The Raven updated range, even more performance. You don't really need the performance model. You can easily just go with the long range model. Most of the time I'm driving this in the chill, in the reduced power mode, because otherwise it's just too much power this car has. Of course, an extreme acceleration. This is really, really impressive. But even more so in this Raven update, the updated air suspension, which is now more comfortable, and the great improved noise, like all the vibration things, noise, the overall less wind noise and so on, less rolling noise. So this has been a great improvement here now. So we can really say, so far, Tesla had the best concept, as for the, whole efficiency and for, the environmentally friendly concept. But then the German manufacturers had the best, look and feel, build quality and best noise insulation and so on and so on. So it were the little things that were missing with the Tesla Model X that were making it maybe a little bit worse. Now, these are the little things that make it even better. Very interesting findings for today. So, what do you think? Tell me your comments here about the updated Tesla Model X. Also tune into more Tesla reviews we have. And of course, to the standard competitors. See you there.